Hey, everybody. Welcome to episode 3 of the Unpaid and Underrated podcast, the podcast about lifting, about nerfing. I'm Big Joey.
I am Big Keith.
And I'm Big Kevin.
And we are here representing the Massonomics Discord crew, which if you are listening to this, chances are you already know that. First and foremost, Kevin, what are you wearing? Because I want to point out, I almost wore that. My son said, Daddy, wear the red one. And I was like, I better go find that shirt. So tell me what you're wearing.
Yeah, I'm wearing the Massonomics Raw Power shirt. I think it really pops. And I picked it out tonight because I think it's a pretty underrated shirt that they have.
I find when I'm sweaty, it sticks to my chest. That was the only
thing. Yeah, there is a lot more screen print on this one.
There's a lot more power on that one.
Yeah.
Keith, what are you wearing, buddy?
I am rocking the Natty for Life, the Natural for Life blue t-shirt. It's one of my favorites, probably the one that fits the best. It's the one of the few XLs that doesn't fit like a medium. Works great for me.
I agree. I'm wearing my blurry band tee.
Mm-hmm. So that was really funny. You didn't notice when you got up to get a charger before we started recording, you have your background blurred. So then when you were out of frame, the shirt was blurred, but it was a blurry shirt to begin with. So that was it made me do a double take, but it was pretty funny.
Yeah, we haven't got into the drinks yet, so let's not get all into the blurry talk. Okay. I am taking a brief step out of form, and I'm going to start with a beer tonight.
Nice.
And that is because I have weigh-ins tomorrow. So the last thing I want to do is drink a ton of water and, bloat myself with water. And at 9 a.m., I need to weigh less than 168 pounds. So today I was 166. So that was before dinner. So the last thing I want to do is go in there and just push over so that I'm bumped up a weight class to the bottom of it. I'd rather be at the top of the weight class that I'm in currently. So yeah, we're going to go right to beer to kind of dehydrate me a little tonight.
Gotcha. I was never weighed myself after drinking a couple beers, so that is I guess it works. I don't know. Let us know next week.
I discovered when I first decided I was going to drink a little less, right? Because I drink more than probably the average person. I said, you know what, I'm going to start drinking a little less. But I noticed that when I didn't have any alcohol, I weighed more. And it was just because I was hydrated. Because if I'm not drinking beer, I was drinking a ton more water. And I actually, the only times I've ever gone over 170 were when I was not having any alcohol. So I'm thinking these 1 or 2 beers tonight might save me those couple of pounds. And then I'm going to eat a giant breakfast.
What beers are? I don't think you mentioned that. I'm going to take a guess that it's a Keats, but maybe not.
That's a very good guess, my friend. It is definitely a Keats.
There we go. What about you, Kevin? What are you drinking tonight, buddy?
I've got a Busch Latte here. Thought I'd give a little crack.
I see we have matching koozies here tonight.
Uh-huh.
Ooh.
I picked mine up at the Arnold.
A koozie.
I can see my koozies, but they're just out of frame. Back to the Wegmans Mandarin Orange. It's we kind of buy it in bulk, so that's all I got for a while. I did have a couple. We have a what's the really bougie restaurant that's not Trader Joe?
Whole Foods.
Whole Foods.
Yeah, so Whole Foods just opened up a couple months ago right here, and they have like a single serving sparkling water. So I got one. I think I posted my Instagram. That's a horrible segment, but it was an orange creamsicle essentially, and it was really good.
Okay, so that's the one like I have, the orange vanilla.
Yeah. Okay, you're right. Exactly what it was. And so that's it wasn't. Yeah, it was orange vanilla. So that might have been the same brand that you had.
So no, mine was President's Choice, but
yeah, you're right. Yeah,
very likely brewed in the same place. Like nobody's doing all this. There's not multiple sparkling water brewers in North America. There's got to be like one that does all of it, and they just rebrand it as they send it out.
And then the place that's right next to it is where LaCroix brews theirs, because they just catch the essence of the real brewery.
The essence of the flavor.
I don't know if you've ever done it, but or if they even still offer it. But Whole Foods on Fridays, I think maybe just in the summer, but they do a $5 wine and appetizer pairing where you just walk through the store and they give you a sample of wine and a little snack to go with it. That's the
Nice.
best $5 you can spend.
Date night at Whole Foods. Heading over.
Mhm.
I'm gonna, if I ever get divorced, I know what I'm up to.
Hey, married people should date too. That's something that
Yeah.
we're getting back into, is trying to do a just, it's not forced by any means, but just like putting it on the calendar, doing it like once a week, 45 minutes, hour, 2 hours, whatever. Like just no TV, no phones, just husband and wife time.
All right, you come watch the kids for 45 minutes, and we'll
Well, yeah,
handle that.
I'm very spoiled in the matter of being no kids. So
Dinks.
I
Are you a dink family? Double
oh
income,
that
no
I
kids?
yeah, yes, I knew that analogy. I knew that acronym. Just forgot it. But yeah, absolutely, that is us, and that's us for life.
All right, we had a drop today, fellas. Did you pick anything up?
I have not pressed order yet. I'm looking into the can't decide between the black and the red shirt.
I went with red. I have 2 black comp tees and 1 pink one, and I thought, yeah, I could use a red one. And I got the socks because, like, who doesn't? When I deadlift, okay, some sets and reps talk.
Mhm.
Are there people out there scraping their shins when they deadlift?
Absolutely.
Okay,
A lot of it's going to depend on your barbell also more. So what kind of power, but what bar do you deadlift on? Like,
I have the Bells of Steel Bear Steel.
so I mean that should have some decent
Oh no, it
knurl.
has
So
aggressive knurling, but
okay,
when I deadlift,
Are you sumo or conventional?
I'm conventional. It
Okay.
doesn't touch my shins. So
man.
I'm
So
just, am I just doing 400-pound muscle ups? Like, am I doing this wrong?
I was like, I've had multiple people in my gym break skin on my Kabuki deadlift bar in the last couple months, so it's definitely a thing. Who was it? It was one of the really big deadlift, the guy that has the all-time deadlift record right now for powerlifting, Dan
Angry.
Grisby. Yeah,
Yeah.
because he has his legs shaved, and they're gnarly, man.
Mhm.
They're just like, they're scars from like the top of his sock line all the way up to his knee. It's foul. It is definitely a thing.
When I'm deadlifting, like, it doesn't touch anything below my knees. It's all air until I get over the knees, and then it scrapes. I have actually no hair between my, like, actually right around my Massenomics tattoo is pretty much hairless because that's where the bar scrapes and rubs. But I always, like, I was like, I better get deadlift socks. Like, they seem to be a thing. And then I've never scraped my shins doing it, which means, am I leaving weight on the table?
Possibly.
Maybe.
I've always heard that your shin should be really close or in contact with the bar right as you're starting. I pull sumo and I have a ISF deadlift bar, and I always get that little scrape just off the floor, and then most of the scrape comes for me is on the when I'm putting it back down.
Yeah, I can. Yeah, definitely coming back down because you're not really. It's just like you want to set it down as quick as possible without dropping it, and I can see that for sure.
Maybe I need to see one of my customers. They keep coming in, and they have a powerlifting gym, and they keep telling me, "Oh, come on down for some free lessons." And I keep going, like, free lessons. It's like, I compete. I don't know, but like, maybe I'm leaving poundage on the table. I just wonder, maybe I'm leaving poundage on the table, and if I started scraping my shins a little more and stopped getting sick, I might be able to pull some. I want to do 3 times my body weight. I like, before I give up, I want to do 490 pounds. I want to do the 3 times my body weight because that's like top tier in my brain. And so, like,
You might as well go 495 because that's 5 plates, and then you might as well go 500 because that's 500.
Yep. I know, but it looks like at this meet, Juggernaut thinks I'm only going to pull 450, and I think Juggernaut can go to hell. I think my 30 time is going to be 460.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway,
all this talk. In July, you ought to be able to get some pointers from some pretty big total guys out in Aberdeen. There might be a 2,000-pound total or two there to ask. Hey, buddy, can you watch my deadlift real quick?
I'm just gonna ask Big Jess, like, if she's there.
Is she confirmed coming? Like, I haven't seen confirmation on that.
So me and Jess used to chat, and then she randomly stopped answering, which is fine. She's like a huge famous powerlifter. Like, I'm not going to complain. But every time I ask, it's the one thing she doesn't answer.
Yeah.
So I stopped asking. Right?
Does she follow our Instagram page?
Not yet. Actually, she might. No, I'll confirm that.
Start tagging her, and like just once a week tag her in something about the meet, maybe.
Maybe, but it'd be her or Dan. I should have asked Dan at the Arnold, but He was busy. So speaking of powerlifting meets and the Lift Hard, Live Easy. So Keith, you didn't grab anything from this one yet.
No, I had a busy day when I got home from work, and I saw it and I was like, okay, I've never wore a headband in my life. I've got an orange pair of deadlift socks that I'm in love with. The singlet was not available currently. I might pick up a meat shirt, but it's not something I would wear at that meet probably. I don't know. Or to call back to earlier, like how I don't like change. I have an orange shirt that I wear at every meet, so like it gives me anxiety thinking about wearing a different shirt or something that I haven't worn in a previous meet. So I love that they're doing it. I think that'll be really cool seeing like people that aren't even in crew possibly pick up the shirt and wear it at meets and like
Absolutely.
support, Massonomics in general, and just helping Massonomics get their brand and their name out at just, powerlifting meets would be pretty cool. But I personally haven't grabbed one yet. But
I've
you
got
should.
I've got two Obsidian Ammonia because I got it customized with my Lift bearded hashtag on the back. I've got a Lift Evil Cthulhu one, but my singlet is also Lift Evil Cthulhu. And I just tried it on one day. I was like, that's too many layers of tentacles. So I figured I would get a nice red one from Massonomics because that would kind of round off all of the lifting companies I like, except for Live Large. I might pick up one of theirs too. Those are good people.
Yeah, doesn't
But
your Cthulhu singlet have some cool red accents on it too? I
oh
go
yeah,
with that.
the angry nipples.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, I was actually thinking of replacing it because of those, because they actually distract me when I'm lifting, right? And that's kind of like, it was just weird for me. But
feel
I
a
was
little
hoping
soft.
I was
Yeah.
going to get the Massonomics one, but then I thought to myself, I don't know if I'm ever going to compete after this competition, because it seems that every time I compete, I get injured right beforehand, and it's like, am I self-sabotaging or whatever? Like, who knows? Because I was, leading up to it, I'm like 460 easy for 2 reps, 450 for 2, yeah. And then going into the meet, I'm like 425, please. Like, so I don't know. It's a good car. I don't
Yeah,
know.
so you have all your openers and everything kind of dialed in, I'm assuming. And do you have everything planned? Or you don't seem like a planner like I would. When I go into a
Nope.
powerlifting meet, I have all my attempts out like at least a couple weeks in advance, down to like giving myself 3 options for my second and my thirds. Uh, you're just kind of fly by the seat of your pants and wing it all,
I'm
or do you
gonna
have to?
I'm gonna go in with the opener that Juggernaut thinks I'm gonna go in with, and if it feels good, I'm gonna move up and wait. And if it don't feel good, I'll stick to what they think. Because right now
Makes
they've got
sense.
me doing 415, 425, and 440 or 450. But like, I'm fairly positive, especially with the Kabuki deadlift bar, I'm gonna add to 455 or 460 on my third attempt. Like, Juggernaut has this weird thing where it only dials you in to 97% for your 3rd attempt. And like, why? Why would you leave that 3% on the table if you're out there trying to smash a PR at a meet? And
And you're doing a push pull, right?
yeah, I'm not doing squats. My knees are
Yeah, so
just
that should be
trash.
able to save you a little bit more too.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
you should have more in the tank than if you were doing full power for sure.
I kind of look at it, and we're still talking sets and rep, and I'm sorry, but there's
Oh,
two
I
types of
love sets and rips.
people that go into these meets, and I've only ever done one meet, and I saw all of them in that one meet, and I was like, you read the memes and you've never been to a meet, and you're like, yeah, sure, that's kind of funny, but then you meet these people, and there's the people there that like have a film crew filming their warm-ups, and they take up the warm-up room, and they're the most obnoxious people, and like they've got half your max on the bar, but don't touch it. I'm using that for my work. And I was like, yeah, but I'm going to do a rep while you're not touching it. And they still get all weird. Like, those people are there for lights. Like, they are honestly just there to get lights so they can say they did it. I'm not there for that. I'm there to go up against what I thought I could do when I walked in the door. So if I get red lit, because I would rather lose trying than win leaving stuff on the table. And that's just how
Oh
I'm
yeah,
going into
for
this
sure.
meet, right? If I got red lights, great, but I got red lights on my terms, not failing a lift that's only 95% of my max. So that's our sets and reps talk. For more, go to my Instagram where you can see me hate powerlifting while I still do it. So speaking of
We had some rankings come out. Don't if you've been following our Instagram or on the Discord, we've had some different posts and some different data come across our table for rankings. I believe Big Nate, our
Technical
editor
guy.
of the best editor in the world, that is, got an email, just a random email from a guy saying with some from data. The numbers basically look like it put us what at 26 in Canada in the fitness realm and
Yeah.
87 in America. And
Well,
then we got
I got that email. It was me that
okay,
provided.
that was
Yeah,
you. Okay.
it came to the unpaid intern. So I
Okay.
assumed it was legit because like it must be from one of the places we upload. But it seemed too good to be true. But then I thought like out of 30 podcasts in Canada, maybe we're landing
That
at
was my
27.
question.
What is the pool we're taking these numbers from? So yeah. But so those were pretty cool numbers we saw. And then so then Nate shared a different link from was it Chartable or Charitable? I'm not a speller, so and that one had us at 231 in US. It had Canada is not available basically, or that we dropped out even. But then here get this, Australia at 121. So our Australia fans are apparently more robust than our American fans. So if you are an Australian crew or an Australian podcast listener, hit us up in the DMs and let's talk about it because I'm curious. I don't know any Australian crew.
Yeah, I don't think we have any Australian crew. It was actually maybe a couple weeks ago now. If you guys remember, I talked to Tanner about getting some crew data, and so I have this. I actually owe everyone another infographic having all the number of crew in each state and each region and each country. And it actually is a pretty cool breakdown. It's close to what you expect. I think I gave some of the raw data into the Discord earlier, but I'm working on an infographic for it.
In the city of Ontario. The city of Ontario must be on there, I assume.
No, I didn't break it down that far. Just the province of Ontario.
Okay, so there is no city of Ontario. When they were, I believe it was one of their anniversary episodes, they were talking about this particular on where they get people from, and they were naming cities. And then Tommy called Ontario a city, and that's kind of where I just started calling us the city of Ontario.
I got you.
So that's where that one comes from. So hey, that's cool. Give us a 5-star rating. We don't have a lot, so if you are listening to this, give us a rating, even if it's a 1-star because you hate us. Any ratings are good ratings, mostly if they're funny.
The road to 69 reviews, guys. That's what we're on.
Well, let's get to the 69th podcast.
I think that's our goal. At the end of the day, I think we all just want to get the unpaid and underrated podcast in the top 69 of fitness podcasts across the world. I think if we can do that, we have just achieved success, and that would make me a very happy guy.
Well, at site 69, at spot 69, I think that means you and I have achieved success together at the same time.
Oh, you set me up good for that one. I like it. I didn't even have that. That wasn't even on my radar. That's perfect. Did we all kind of contribute to our show notes, and I'm actually so Joey, me, and Nate contribute to the show notes throughout the week. And I'm curious if Joey was sitting on that as he was sitting on my face earlier. Was he sitting on that one and just kind of waiting to pull it out?
That was pure improv. It was
nice.
Pure
I love
improv.
It. Good zinger.
You have a thing you're thinking of doing for the lift heavy, live easy, the classic.
Oh,
possibly some stickers and some shirts.
We're definitely going to do so. Stickers are going to be 100%. Shirts are going to be up in the air. My t-shirt lady is literally like, I ordered no wine cellar shirts from her like 2 months ago, and they're still not in. Her like machine's broke, so like I'm not gonna hold a prayer that I'm gonna have shirts ready. Maybe, but we're definitely gonna get stickers. I wanted to use this segment to kind of. So I put up a poll in Discord and on my Instagram. I think basically there was the two options were going to be the unpaid and underrated, just the you and you in a circle, or the full podcast name with our catchphrase in a square. And I want to say the rectangle one won by like 80-1 as far as like the ratio. So definitely going to move forward with at least the bigger one. I can probably order a couple hundred of them for like $50, $75, something like that. So I think I'm gonna go ahead and order that. While we'll have them on hand at the meet, I could probably be able to mail Joey and Nate like 25 a piece or something and just distribute it to anyone that's local to you. something like that. So worst case too, you can mail a sticker for like 30 cents. So if any crew wants stickers, once we actually get them, just reach out and I'll sure be able to, I'll have my wife make up an envelope because I don't like making up envelopes, but we'll be able to get those out and get them distributed. But we definitely think we're just going to go with this, the full brand first, and then maybe do a secondary drop later with the circular one that's more of the niche crowd that'll enjoy that one.
That's the
Is
one
it
I
niche or
voted for.
niche? That's one
It
I
would
always
be
struggle
niche.
with. Niche.
Yeah,
I think
Niche was the author that Frederick Niche, I believe his name was.
Okay.
Yeah, but you got to really know about that.
Yeah,
Nate will fact check
and
us
like
if he
a
needs
small shelf is like a niche.
to. Okay, and a
Yeah,
niche is just a little club that you're in, basically, or a small thing you're a fan of.
Speaking of not knowing stuff,
Yeah.
I got my own emoji and Discord React, and I think I owe an explanation as to why I wanted that, because it kind of just comes across that I was being vain. But the running joke in the Discord and of course on this podcast and in my real life is I don't know any influencers or famous lifters. So I just kind of lift weights and put them down again. And then like you guys know all of these guys, and every time you talk about them, I was like, I don't know who that is. And I got sick of being tagged in Discord with people saying I'm gonna pull a big Joey and ask who this person is. And I was like, just use the React, just put my face. And if more than 2 people ask who that is, then you have to explain it. Like that should be the rule there, that if you see that little reaction and there's more than 1 or 2 of them, like maybe give an explanation on who that is, because I just got sick of being tagged all the time because I get excited thinking somebody wants to talk to me and it's nope. They're just making fun of me a little. So just give me the React.
Austin spoke up in the Discord earlier today, like we were talking about. Someone else said, "Oh, he's alive," and I reacted to that one with your "who" face.
That's funny.
That's good.
Funny. He's been gone a bit. Yeah, he's doing some stuff. But then we also go ahead.
So with the bit of Joey, does Joey know who it is, etc. So you've been listening to the. Do you ever go follow the guests that are on the Mothership podcast and then like start following them, or is it just like, oh, that was a cool interview, I still have no interest to follow this human being? Like, how does that go? Because you follow Big Jess.
Yeah, so that's actually based on their appearance on the podcast.
Okay.
I would say that 90% of them, I don't, unless they said something that like I was like, man, I gotta know that person a little more. Interestingly, I haven't always, but I started following Calgary Barbell about a month ago, and then he was on the podcast. So that was kind of interesting that, somebody I actually followed showed up. Big Jess, only because of Massonomics. Same with Dan Bell, only because of Massonomics. Discovery Deadlift. I actually, the first time, so people started sending me his video because he had like this like one that went viral, and it had like this like music with some hard hitting sounds like a haka in the background. It went kind of viral, and all I thought was like, this is a gimmick. I'm not following this gimmick. And then he was on Massonomics, and it turns out I love that dude and like his message and everything he said. So like he's one that I follow, but then like I actually reached out and started talking to, whereas some of them I just follow because I'm like, yeah, I'm interested in what you got to say. And then there's people that have never been on the podcast who I'm actually a fan of. Mike Van Wyck, I think he's never been on the podcast, but I think he'd be an interesting guy to have on the podcast because he does a lot of the anti-influencer stuff that I like. The all bark, no teeth type of stuff so I like him a lot, but I don't think he's been on the podcast. I'll get him on this podcast first.
Yeah, I insert Joey's emoji. I don't know who that is. So yeah, that's something we have to figure out down as so like we're gonna obviously get all the crew on, as many like all the one, we still have a few more guys that have helped build the podcast. And then there's probably gonna be at least, I would say there's probably at least 40 or 50 people that we won't have issues getting on the like we'll have a year's worth of people that are willing and excited to get on the podcast. After that, I don't know. Like, are we going to ever want to branch out and just because I think we could, I know I could get a couple bigger name guys on like our in crew, but like, don't necessarily contribute or anything. So it's like, do we want to go with like people that have been on the other podcast as well? But then it's like, we can't just, it'd have to be our own thing. We can't just do the same, interview that we're doing with other guys. Where we're actually getting to know people. So that's something I think that'll evolve over the next year because Joey and Nate and I don't know yet. I don't feel like we haven't really figured out what we want to do with this, but I'm confident we'll have a year worth of solid content. And after that, I mean, but also as crew grows too, like,
Yeah.
Crews at about 300. And I would say at least a third of those are pretty active. So even if at hell our goal is just to get 50 to 70% of the crew on, that's almost 2 years.
Just insert the Joker. Do I look like a man with a plan? Because like, no.
I like planning, man. This is where Kevin and I are a lot more in sync. We both like just data and preparation, I feel.
Well, speaking of the main podcast, let's chat about our newest sponsor. This is a relatively new sponsor that just joined us, and it is the Massnomics podcast. I'm kidding. See, the joke is they've always been a sponsor.
Yes.
But if you want to jump in and join us, all this talk of crew, and if you happen to be listening to this, you might be crew, but you might also not. You might be crew adjacent. Maybe you're one of Kevin's friends, one of Keith's friends. I don't have any friends, but like you're kind of interested in what we're talking about. You can go to massnomics.com/join, sign up for the monthly supporting membership. There's lots of tiers to jump in on. None of the tiers get you any more access to anything. You just get to give people more money. I think there's only one pierogi tier in the crew, but he shall not be named at the moment. He'll be on the podcast eventually. But that's it. So we talked about the drop. Get in on that. I talked about our shirts. Obviously this is one of our favorite things to wear. But that is our first and biggest sponsors, massnomics.com/join. So what do you think, Keith? Should we get our guest on the horn?
Yeah, I think I'm not sure if we'll be able to. Yeah. Yes, so let's do it.
All right. Let me dial this up. Big Kevin, is that you?
Oh, hey guys, Big Kevin here.
Hey, Kevin. You are live on the Underrated and Unpaid podcast. I think I'm not going to get tired of that bit. I'm going to do that bit every time. So for those of you that don't know who Big Keith is, I mean, by now you got to know who we are.
I hope they all know who Big Keith is, buddy, because that's me. I'm one of the co-hosts of the podcast.
There's too many K's going on right now.
But there might be a Big Kevin that they're getting familiar with for the first time.
Hey, Big Kevin, in 30 seconds or less, who are you?
Okay, I am a former high school, college athlete, now mediocre powerlifter living in the great Midwestern state of Ohio. Got my basement gym here and been following Massonomics for a couple of years, and they've really gotten me into the, really getting into the lifestyle of lifting hard and living easy. Not taking it too seriously, but just serious enough.
Oh yeah.
Now that introduction, I feel like we've pretty much knocked out every question we had for you, buddy. So let's
right,
go overrated and underrated. No, we've got some good ones lined up for you here too. We can keep this train rolling.
Yeah. In fact, you are the first guest other than Nate, Big Nate, sorry, that has met all of us.
Mm-hmm. I met you guys both at Arnold this year. It was pretty awesome.
Yeah, we hung out, me, you, and Big Nate for almost the whole day that Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
After Keith had to exit the building, but I was it was really cool to hang out with you guys. And what was your first impression of Keith?
Just like the Massonomics guys, taller than I expected.
That's ironic because I'm like 5'8", so I thank you for the joke, I guess.
No, Keith was actually the one who ran out my special day pass out to me. So I met him out in the concourse and brought me over to the booth where all the other guys were. And so it was, got to see Keith first and got everyone else in there after that.
Oh yeah, it was a good day.
Tanner put me to work with that
one. And you also met up with Eddie and Nate at the Live Large. Oh, I'm so jealous. I wanted to go to the Ohio Pizza. I really did,
That's
but
that's my go-to pizza place. If I'm looking for, something quick and easy, you can get. I'll get something local. But if I want some good pizza, I'll go to the Ohio Pie Company. There's two locations, and I'm like smack dab in the middle of both of them, so it's a good time. So you're ever coming through northeast Ohio, that's the spot to be.
So it's not in Cleveland. Where's it actually at? Because we go to Cleveland periodically.
Yeah, so there's one that's closer to Cleveland. That's in a suburb called Rocky River, relatively close to the highways, 90 and 71. And then the other one is maybe 45 minutes south of Cleveland in Brunswick, and that's also right off of 71. So I've actually been to both locations now. I met up with Big Nate and Big Eddie at the Brunswick, and there's actually a little arcade back there too, and a little dining area. So that's where we actually did some of the drink spot or trick shot challenge while we were there. We actually set up a couple drink spotters and some red solo cups, and Eddie brought a bunch of ping pong balls, and we were just trying to come up with something silly to do. And people next to us looking like what are these guys doing over there? And we actually got one of them to come over and just try something, and he actually made one after a while.
Oh, nice. Good news, it looks like. Hey, you have a baby due in September? Am I breaking news?
I do. Yeah. So
does the rest of the crew know? Should I have not brought this up? Should we edit this out?
No, that's all
his
good.
Wife gave me all this. Mrs. Big Kevin informed me with about 6 pages worth of information on Kevin and told me to kind of have at it all. So she did not put a caveat on this is not public. So I think we're in the clear, but I did not know until I read it in my when she slid into my DMs the other day and mentioned it. So I was congratulations.
Is that the first?
Yeah, this is our first. It's actually it's one of the reasons why I'm actually not going to the meet in South Dakota this year. So I think that's a pretty good excuse to have. Don't want to leave a nearly 8-month pregnant wife home alone. 16 hours away.
Now that you say that, now I remember you saying that in the Discord.
Yeah,
because we were trying to apply some pressure, and you were just like, "I'll just make the baby wait," and I should have clued in. I should have clued in at that point. That's there. Funny.
No, I was actually one of the. I think I was actually the first person to sign up for the meet in December, the day the registration came out, and then 2 weeks later, got the positive pregnancy test. We're like, well, that's gonna change.
Yeah, obviously that takes precedent.
Were you able to
we're excited for that, and while we're talking about my wife, I'm just gonna give her a quick happy birthday shout out. By the time this comes out, her birthday will be the following weekend, so that's coming up.
Oh, happy birthday, Mrs. Big Kevin!
Happy birthday!
You were a kicker in college?
Yeah.
Hell yeah! Tell me about that. Does that translate to what you do now at all?
The actual on-field stuff, no, not at all. But I will say for sure, playing in college was definitely contributed to where I'm at now. So I wasn't bad by any means. I was good enough, to get on the team. It was a small D3 school in Ohio, so not a huge deal with that. But for whatever reason, our little school had half a dozen to a dozen pretty good kickers year in and year out, and I just wasn't one of the best one of them. So I got my competitive, kick, no pun intended, in the weight room. So I would be lifting with all the other position players, and doing my best to keep up with them and all the strength and conditioning work that we did. And one of my good friends, he actually first got into powerlifting, also a kicker, but few years before I did, and he finally came through and came up and did a meet with me. So that was the first meet that I did 4 years ago now. Yeah, 2019. So that's what really got me into it. So yeah.
So what's more fun, kicking or deadlifting?
I think I'd probably got to go with deadlifting, just because I'm better at it and it's more relatable to other people. There's more people that do that. But I really did enjoy kicking. But I think the best part about being on that team was more the camaraderie of it. Yeah, like being on the field's fun, and doing the actual sports part of it's fun, but the the best memories that we had from that was just being on a team, and whether it was at practice or the weight room or afterwards, just the good memories we had from that.
I can definitely relate to that, going back all the way to like high school football. And like I feel like that's kind of like that camaraderie that I had, playing, high school football, middle school football with the same guys for 6, 7 years. Like there's never been able to recreate that. The crew that we are a part of now is some of the one of like maybe the closest things I've had to having that camaraderie. So that's why I'm so stoked for July. Actually, being in a room with 30 guys that you're essentially on a team with, in a crew with you, like that's going to be really cool. Follow up there real quick. When is the last time you kicked or punted a football?
Ooh,
Curious if something you do recreationally, like if you're out there in the field with your own tee,
right.
just kicking into the woods, and
Yeah, not so much anymore. There was a few years afterwards that even after I was done playing, that I would go back to my high school and kind of help out the young kickers come up through there. But since I've moved a little bit further away from home, it's been harder to keep doing that. So it's got to been at least 5 years since I kicked a football, I think, at least in any serious manner. I think I've, might have, punted a football, 10 yards to my little nephew in the backyard, but actually going full out, I haven't done that in a long time.
Do you guys
Okay.
know if you're having? Oh, sorry.
Follow up to the follow up. And I think we're about to touch on the same thing. Are you going to raise a power lifter or are you going to raise a football player?
I'm going to raise an athlete.
Hell yeah, that's good
Yeah.
answer. Good answer. Do
So
whatever it is.
hopefully they like those things. I'm not going to force anything on that, but if I can, I will.
Do whatever it is that makes you happy as long as you're doing something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Are you guys in the know or in the public? Or have you made it public if you're having a boy or a girl yet? Is that something you?
We're not going to find out actually. We're
Nice.
We'll wait till they get here.
That's
There you go.
that's what we did for our first.
Uh-huh.
We were all kind of on the table about it, and I've never really shared much of this story. This is all personal stuff that I don't share with the world. But we were on the fence if we were going to decide. I had a girl's name picked out probably for the last decade. Like no matter what, that's what she's going to be named. But then I remember meeting a nurse. She said, "Are you going to find out?" And I said, "I don't think we're going to." And she said, "Don't. It's the only surprise left in life." And I was just like, "Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, you're a pediatric nurse. I'm with you then." So we didn't find out. On the second one, we were like, "Who cares?" Right? But on that first one, yeah, that was it's the best way to do it, man. Good work.
Thanks.
Not that I know a lot about fathers, but speaking of being a father, there is no other discords, but I'll send you an invitation to the Stout Daddies. There's a lot of overlap between us, unless you're already in there.
I'm not. I've been meaning to look more into that.
Yeah, there's a lot of overlap right now between the crew and the Stout Daddies. A lot of the dads from the crew are already there, but he's going to be doing his first shirt.
John running it.
Yeah. I have some fun in there. It's nowhere near as active as the crew Discord, but it is always fun. A lot of dads talking about just dad stuff, just straight up like, hey, I hit a good lift today, or my kid got to watch me lift. I was in there saying, it sucks that my kids are sick, but getting the cuddles when they're sick, like it's kind of like a backhanded compliment, right? I want these cuddles, but so yeah, remind me. I'll send you an invite to that. But there's no other Discords. Sorry, guys.
So to play off of a word that Joey said, he mentioned overlap, and that harkens back to when I met Big Kevin at the Arnold, and he gave me a sticker for his gym, and I believe it had a "take a lap" as a catchphrase on it. And I believe one of the hosts, we were all around their booth, and one of the hosts asked you what that meant, and you gave a kind of a little rundown on that. Is that something you want to talk about real quick? Because I thought it was a pretty. I enjoyed the story. I think the masses would enjoy the story.
Yeah, sure. So take a lap was it was a phrase that my Uncle Pat used a lot. It was a like someone's acting up in the night. They're like, go take a lap, get out of here, go take a lap, go cool off. It was just something he would say to, basically tell you to calm down or relax. And 3 years ago now, he unfortunately passed. And kind of in his memory, my dad and the rest of their siblings set up a foundation. It's now called the Take a Lap Foundation, to basically just support the community in his name. And so we actually, just last weekend, there was a couple dozen people went out and did a day of service in the name of Pat, and just to be out there and supporting their communities in any way that they can. So it's a nonprofit fundraising sort of organization, and and the whole purpose is the faith, family, and community aspect that Pat preached throughout his life.
That's really cool.
Things to live by.
Yeah, that's really neat.
I wanted you to be able to share that on the episode, because that stuck with me at the Arnold. So I wanted to have you share that with everyone.
No, it's, and as you were saying it, I just realized it's such a better way, because nowhere in the history of telling somebody to calm down has anybody calmed down.
Right.
So take a lap, figure it out. Things if you can find a better way that just has a little bit of authority, that's really cool.
Yeah. Well, take a lap literally meant also run a lap,
go run around the house. Yeah.
Well, for sports too. Yeah. If you were busting, if you were acting out on the team, I'm ashamed to admit it, but I was told to take a lap multiple times throughout my playing career, because I was a little bit of a smart ass. So there was that. So.
All right. I want to do something that I forgot to do last week. And I apologize to all the listeners. I told a silly story, but I did not ask the silly question that me and my wife come up with every week. Now, I heard you love dad jokes.
I do.
Okay, so do I. This is not a dad joke, but I want you to consider these in the same silly vein as a dad joke. Okay, and this is for both of you to answer, but if you get stuck, I'll give you my answer.
Okay.
How many penguins is too many penguins?
3.
That's your limit? If you were at a zoo.
Oh, well, and I thought it was more if I had to own penguins.
There's really
I guess if it was
do we have our druthers?
Of course you have your druthers.
Yeah.
You can even ask me questions. This is a conversation. It's just, how many penguins would it take for you to be nervous? If you were walking down the street and somebody was like, hey man, be careful, there's some penguins down there. In your brain, would you be like, okay, there's 3 penguins, I better avoid that. And then you turn the corner and there's 50. So in your opinion, how many penguins would be an overwhelming amount of penguins for you?
Well, I could even just say 1 penguin, because if there's a penguin out around my neighborhood, something's wrong. But to be actually concerned about it,
maybe
not emperor penguins.
Yeah, let's talk cute penguins.
Can get pretty big.
Let's talk those big penguins.
What's the diameter? How big is a penguin? 2 feet tall, 20 pounds? I have no clue how big a penguin is.
An emperor penguin's as big as me and you.
Oh,
they're gigantic jerks. So let's just say we're talking
about.
No, we're talking about those cute little penguins, because I don't believe you when you say 1, because if you saw a single penguin, you'd be like, hey guys, that's weird, right?
Yeah.
But it wouldn't make you uneasy.
Right.
So how many penguins is an overwhelming amount of penguins?
I'd probably have to say 24 or so then. So that seems like a lot.
I think mine's about 15. I think mine's about where are we going to do with all these penguins? I think would be about 15 would be that limit for me. Especially if you had to be in charge of them. There's so many places to go with that. Somebody walked up to your house and they're like, hey, I'm dropping this off. It was sent to you by some stranger. It's 15 penguins. It's too many penguins.
Yeah, I should be at a much lower number then if that's
well, I just you have your druthers, obviously.
Yeah.
If this is Daddy Daycare, if there are penguins, or wasn't there a Jim Carrey movie where he took care of penguins, or there was something to do with penguins? I don't know.
There's that book that we had to read in middle school, Mr. Popper's Penguins.
That's the movie.
That's what the movie was based on.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I don't know. I think one isn't enough, but I think I'd be overwhelmed at 15 penguins because I'd start wondering, like, where am I going to get all these fish? Why are they here? Keith, what about you?
Well, the parameters of the question keep changing because, like, at first I was like, how many do I want to own, or how many could I hand? Like, the way I interpreted the way you said it was like, so how many could I manage versus how many could I fight and defend myself? Like that's at one point I was like, how many penguins can I kick the shit out of? Like, I don't know, like
See, and
eight.
that's what I love about these silly questions is yeah, you totally have your druthers to fill in whatever you want to with that.
But I am still very curious, like what? So if an emperor penguin is the size of like a human, what is the size of like a like what's the small friendly penguin the size of? So I have a better scale. Like I don't know.
Probably a dog. Like they
I
can't
was
be
gonna
any.
say goose, maybe.
Yeah, they're about as
That's
tall as a
still
toddler, but they're
like
not a like. I wouldn't be afraid of that. And it's not that like I'm afraid of a lot of animals. I don't think I have any. What are those?
Phobias.
Yeah, or like the fear that shouldn't exist or whatever those. Like I don't have a lot of those, but they're animals that you respect. Like if I saw a bear, I wouldn't like go into cardiac arrest. Oh my god, a bear! But I'd be like, I'm not going to go where that bear is. Right? I don't have like Murph's fear of birds or healthy respect for dinosaurs, as she calls it. I don't have any of that. But like an emperor penguin, I think if there was two, I would definitely kind of be like uneasy.
for
But if they're
sure.
those cute little like just those little Arctic penguins that like live, with people, I think 15 is. I think 15 is in all scenarios. 15 would make me uneasy.
That sounds fair. Yeah, I could agree with all that. I guess your questions always are where did what I now what inspired this one? Because I'm always more curious of where you pulled these out of your ass.
That one, I don't quite remember because I think Morgan gave me one and I said, no, that's not silly or superfluous enough. And then I just started thinking, like, I was maybe on Twitter and saw something along the lines of like somebody around a lot of birds and then was just like, that's not that many birds. And then I kind of went, well, how many is too many? But what kind of bird? And I it might have led me there, but it genuinely just was just kind of, nope, that's what I'm going with. It's that silly. And that's how most of them are going to come up. It is going to be just, and it's fun to hear like how people react, because I think that's what I want to do with these is just bring out a different reaction. Because like for me, when I like full disclosure, when I pictured it, I was at the zoo and then somebody said, hey, the penguins escaped. And then like I would then have to be like, okay, like how many? Because if I turned the corner and there was two penguins, I'd go, that's not that scary. But if I suddenly turned a corner and 15 penguins all stopped and stared at me, I think then I'd be like, whoa, that's out of my league. And that's where I went with it when I first thought of the question, because I didn't prep myself when I thought of it either. So it's fun to hear you were like, how many do I fight? Like, no, how many do I own? Like, it's really cool.
Well, I thought you were setting up the whole. What was it? It was the question that the other host kept asking. They were asking Chad Leslie Smith, like, would they rather fight X amount of miniature horses with Louis Simmons' head, or Louis? It was something like that. You know, it was basically fighting a miniature, like a dozen miniature horses or one giant horse, and they all had Louis Simmons' head on it. I think is that what the
Yeah, it's kind of like
the gag was.
50 duck-sized horses or one horse-sized duck.
Why the hell do I think they're? Why did I think Louis Simmons was involved?
I think you're right. That was thrown in there somewhere too.
Yeah, I don't remember. That's because that's immediately where my mind was going. But I was like, okay, I'm having to fight these little bastards.
Well, you always have your druthers with the silly question of the week. Speaking of druthers, Kevin, I don't know if you're aware, but we have this game that we like to play with all of our guests. It's called Overrated, Underrated. Now, we're going to give you a list of Kevin-specific questions, and they are going to be, stuff that you have to decide whether they're overrated or underrated. You have your druthers, but you do have to pick a side.
Okay, so I'm not allowed to ride the line.
You're not allowed to ride the line. You do have to ride one horse with your ass. I'm going to start. Overrated, underrated. Go ahead.
Keith is going to interject after my answer.
That's
Possibly.
That's crew.
That's why we have to start this early, because then I'm gonna drag this out for another. It's gonna take us 45 minutes to do overrated, underrated, because I have a follow up question on all 6 of these. Or depending on your answer, I may or may not.
All right, fire away.
Overrated or underrated? Ray Finkel.
Ray Finkel. I don't know who that is. Cue the Joey.
Okay.
Who's that emoji?
So for context, he was a kicker for the Miami Dolphins, who eventually went kind of crazy in his quest for revenge against Dan Marino in the movie Ace Ventura: Pet Detective.
Part 1.
So laces in, laces out.
Yeah. Well, I have not seen Ace Ventura: Pet Detective.
This is our first
Sorry,
complete,
what?
Just
Sorry, what? You haven't? Oh, that's just
I was like
whole
6
universe.
That's how old are you then? It's like
I'm 30.
Okay, so you're 30.
Just shattered
I'm
my
30.
whole universe.
I think I'm 38 in a couple weeks. How old are you, Joey? I don't think I even know this.
Old enough.
Okay, you're gonna be a little
young enough
very
to do
ambiguous.
it. Young enough to do it, old enough not to do it again.
There you go. So,
no, I'm 38. Yeah, I'll be 39.
Okay. So you and I are within a year, and then Big Kevin's a little baby, 9 years younger than us, 8 years younger than us.
Oh man, because that was such a good setup for a silly overrated, underrated.
Yeah,
that was the first. That's the first time one of our OAs has gone just complete fireball.
Just because he's a kicker, I'm going to call him underrated. No other reason.
That's very fair. Yeah. Now Ray Finkel did cost them the Super Bowl, but it was because Dan Marino held the ball laces in.
Mm-hmm.
So
we did quote that all the time.
Yes.
Laces out, Dan.
Laces out, Dan.
And you didn't know what it was from. It was just something like you just.
I did end up knowing it was from that movie, but just still never saw it.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And that movie does not age well. There's a lot.
Definitely not that character. That's why when I saw it on there, I was like, "Wow, he's going to ask that." That's like that's pushing the limits. I think
I asked about the kicker, not about the police chief. Okay, next, overrated or underrated? Instagram censorship.
Like no one rates that high, but it doesn't seem like it's a good thing. So I'm gonna have to call it overrated.
Now, didn't you just have something randomly censored on your page?
I don't think so. I remember a while ago I've had Instagram give me little nastygrams for having music on my page that like I claimed or allegedly, playing some AC/DC in the background of my lifting videos, but I don't think I've been censored for anything.
No, I thought I saw a post that said you had something taken down because of that. Because
Nope,
it had some music in it. Oh.
And here I was thinking
it has happened to me before, but not recently.
I was thinking the whole setup for that was your streaking last year and your flashing in the
my reveal video.
Yeah, that guy. That's where I thought he was going.
Oh, I was hoping. No, here I am. I'm 0 for 2. Keith, you're gonna have to take these on.
Well, I'll go with mine at least. The ones. So, Big Kevin, overrated or underrated? Spreadsheets.
Spreadsheets underrated completely. They help get all your ideas down. You can see trends that you didn't know about before. It's totally necessary and underrated.
Now, are you a Google Sheets guy or are you an Excel? Do you use both? Because I love Google Sheets because I can use it on the road from any device. I use it at work. I use it for personal stuff. I can just switch from my work Gmail to my personal Gmail. And I got like literally a plethora of Google Sheets and Google Docs that I use on both of my emails. And it's the best thing ever because I can do it from any device.
Yeah, I use both. I track all my workouts on a Google Sheets that, I'll set up the document on a laptop but then actually follow it and, fill in my numbers for the day on my phone. And it's also nice for just, quick lists that I might reference, when I'm away from my laptop. But if I'm going to, do some serious work on a spreadsheet, then I'll use Excel. I just more used to it. I like the, formatting I can do with it better. So I use it for work and for personal use all the time.
Makes sense.
Okay, I guess I'll jump back in with some of my silly ones and hope they don't crash and burn like the first two.
He might. I hope that he knows who this person is. Oh, well, there's a couple of them. I mean, yeah. Let's find out. I'm curious.
Okay. Overrated, underrated. Roadkill.
Okay, I know where this is coming from. So I feel like people generally have a neutral opinion on roadkill. Like you don't like it, but it's probably doesn't bother too many people. I'll say that it's overrated just because it's like I guess I'd rather there not be a dead bloated deer on the side of the road. But I do know what you're saying. There's a couple weeks ago in the Discord, Joey, you mentioned that you had never seen more dead deer on the side of the road than you did when you were driving through Ohio. Is that right?
Utter insanity. Utter insanity. And you commented that you kind of were like, yeah, I know what you're talking about. That's when I wanted to bring this up. And so like I don't it was shocking. So my wife was the first to point it out, and it was just a crazy amount of deer when you're coming from Detroit down to Columbus. But then we ended up taking the other way back, and somehow there were more. And I even saw a pile, like somebody had been doing like cleanup, but then stopped, and there were just like a pile of dead deer. So I messaged my buddy that was driving, and I was like, this is the most amount of deer I've ever seen dead by the side of the road. So from that point to New York, he counted 21 deer carcasses.
Wow. They keep putting those deer crossings on such busy roads. I don't know why they decide to do that, but
well, you're right. Teach the deer to read. Figure it out. But why? Why does Ohio seem to have more dead deer on the side of the road than any place I've ever driven through? Keeping in mind, I've driven through almost like this entire Canadian country.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't really know what it is. I'm just used to it by now. I'm just blind to it. Like when someone does comment, I was like, "Oh yeah, there is a lot of deer around here." There was I remember one joke before. There's like the big sign on the highways that says, "Welcome to Ohio. Look out for deer."
Is that new? Like so when we came down to Columbus, we had came down just around the time of that big train explosion and all the vinyl was in the air. So my wife was like, are they drinking the water and then getting sick and coming to the road to die? Or is this just like always?
It's always been like that.
Always?
Yeah.
That's so crazy. That's so crazy. Okay.
I always thought states kind of like regulated it a little bit with like if it was really overcrowded that they like kind of pull back some of the restrictions on hunting and stuff too. Because isn't that how they like mitigate it mostly? It's just by giving more deer tags out for hunters, or am I way off base? I'm not a hunter, so I don't know. I got family that hunted, but I'm just
right. I do know that I don't know how they decide how many tags to give out in a given year, but Ohio, there is a pretty good deer season here, and when you get closer to the cities, there actually is some department related to our local police that actually do call the herds when they need to. Obviously, they're not doing it enough, but
that's crazy.
No, the drivers are. The drivers are doing all the work. Okay. Maybe there's one other thing you can fill me on. Abandoned cars on the side of the road with yellow stickers on them. So as a Canadian, we don't have that here. What is happening there in Ohio?
Yep. Can't say that I'm familiar with that. I would imagine that's, some sort of ticket or marker by police saying like, hey, either tow this car or don't tow this car.
Okay.
For one reason or another, but yeah, I'm not really sure what that is.
Never saw it, but as soon as we hit Michigan, it was everywhere. I'm learning. I want to learn about your culture too. Okay. Overrated, underrated, and I hope you know who this person is. Drew Carey.
Drew Carey. I think he's underrated. I loved the show Whose Line Is It Anyway growing up.
Yep.
So that was Actually, right back to the joke that I just said. That's actually where I pulled the "Welcome to Ohio. Look out for deer."
Mhm.
That joke was actually I remember seeing that on the Drew Carey show when there is one of the improv things that they had to do. But yeah, so loved that show. Loved him on Price is Right. Uh, I was a little bit too young to watch the Drew Carey show, but like I knew it was funny and had a good following. But overall, I don't think he ever really sold out. He kind of stuck with some local stuff, stuck around Cleveland. So overall, Drew Carey underrated.
And that show introduced us to Ryan Stiles, who I love. He was on Whose Lines It Anyway as well, and Deirdre Bader, who I
Yeah.
am fairly certain half of the Discord thinks they are. If you remember him from Napoleon Dynamite. All right, now this is the last one, and I want to say this is normally the one that is the decision maker, but now I'm not so confident in my questions. But that's okay. It's still a new podcast. We'll get there. This is something I've been meaning to talk to you about. Overrated, underrated, Neil deGrasse Tyson.
I think he's overrated. I think he's a smart guy, puts out some good programs and stuff, but he gets a little preachy at times, I think, about like, look how smart I am about astrophysics. But it's not to say that he's not smart or has any good ideas, but you can almost say he's the part of the Pillar 4 group.
Sold out.
Kind of got out there into the more mainstream and trying to make his opinions really known by everybody. But
Now,
he is smart. He's got some good stuff. But it's interesting that an astrophysicist is a household name at this point.
yeah. Well, we do have this cultural aspect right now. When somebody is smart in one topic, we tend to demand that they're smart in all the topics.
Exactly.
And then we give them some self-help guru aspect, and then they say shit like go to war with the bar. Now, I asked you that question because you do something really cool for a living.
Yeah. So I'm a mechanical engineer and I work at NASA Glenn Research Center in Cleveland. I don't do anything cool and top secret like that. It's just, some of the equipment that we use happens to be proprietary and like either belong to NASA or other companies that we work with. But it's nothing secret or groundbreaking. It's just, better iterations of the next. And what we test are thrusters, which are satellite components that, basically shoot satellites or other spacecraft once they're in space. It's the rockets get them into space, but it's the thrusters that move them around once they're up there. And my job is to basically put them in a big vacuum chamber and test them and put them in a space-like environment and let the folks who are smarter than me operate their thruster and see how long it takes for it to break.
So you test thrusts all day.
Yes.
Well, they're effective. Congratulations on the baby. Okay,
Oh man,
rapid fire jokes. Rapid fire. Rapid fire. Have you ever been to a rocket launch?
No, I haven't. Those are all in like Florida and Texas, and so far away from where I am. So there has been some stuff that I've worked on that has made its way to space, which is pretty cool. But I've not actually witnessed any sort of launch myself in person.
So there's no chance you could put a lift sticker on a rocket for us.
No, but I would like to sneak one onto one of our facilities. That'd be pretty cool. Maybe if one of the hosts can make a sticker that says "lift off," I'd be able to sneak that in.
Nice.
That would be good. Okay, Star Wars or Star Trek?
I'm Star Wars.
Okay, why?
Because I've seen it.
So you haven't seen Star Trek?
So
there's a lot of Star Trek.
I've seen a handful of episodes. I've seen one or two of the movies, but I've seen most Star Wars stuff.
That's
so fair. I know it better. I'm a little bit more into that style of sci-fi, at least.
Well, I would call it science fantasy,
Yeah.
whereas science fiction requires an extrapolation of current technology. So that's why I
Mhm.
call Star Trek more. Also,
Yep.
I am a fucking nerd when
Yeah, I
it
guess
comes to that
Star
kind of
Wars is
stuff.
more a space opera than
Yes,
sci-fi.
it's
Yeah.
Harry Potter with lightsabers.
Yes.
Speaking of Harry Potter, Kevin, this is your wife said you that there's three of the things that she said you love in life are Lord of the Rings, Harry Potter, and Marvel. So I want you to rank those 1 to 3 very quickly.
Oh,
Oh,
One to
that's a good
three.
one. Um,
no, yeah, FMK.
ooh,
Oh,
okay.
FMK,
that's
Harry Potter,
that's even better. Yeah, I like
That's an
Marvel,
that
even
better.
better one.
and the
Okay.
third
Yeah,
one.
that is better. Good job. I like this podcast.
Ooh. Okay.
Lord of the
So
Rings, Harry
I think I
Potter,
gotta
Marvel.
marry Lord of the Rings. Um, marry Lord of the Rings, F Marvel, and kill Harry
Ooh,
because
yeah.
Harry will come back because he's the boy that lived. No,
And I
well,
guess
I think I'll still call it that. Yeah.
that's fair. I guess I don't know. I think I'd have to go Harry Potter over Marvel. I think, but I don't know. That's because like with Harry Potter, you get all the books too. Like I'm not going to read a Marvel. I'm not a comic book fan, but I've read all the
Yeah.
Harry Potter books. Like so,
Yeah.
I would have to encompass that too. And I'm curious what they're going to do with the. Is it a remake or a spinoff of like they're supposed to come out with in the next couple of years too? I think on
Yeah,
HBO.
there's a new HBO series coming for Harry Potter. I don't know if it's been confirmed if it's a reboot or a spin-off yet, but looking forward to it. I'll definitely watch it.
Absolutely. All right.
Well, that concludes my rapid fire questions. I think that was more fun than my overrated underrated. I'll take it.
Let's definitely go. Yeah.
I'm trying to remember what were the two that missed the cut because before we started we had a couple extra that we kind of pulled last minute. I'm curious if those would have fared better
Well,
just with Kevin's age maybe.
I replaced Ray Finkel was originally Home Alone. And it's like, is it just because she yells his name?
Uh-huh.
Oh,
Like
okay.
that was such low hanging fruit.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
So as we
that
were
makes
telling him
sense.
about being a kicker, and I was like, it's a Jim Carrey movie. Of course he's seen it. So
Yeah.
Gotcha.
stupid me.
I'll give Home Alone underrated real quick. Yeah.
Oh, is Home Alone a Christmas movie?
Yeah,
Well, yeah,
it is a Christmas movie.
I agree. Not as good as one as Lethal Weapon and Die Hard, but it's up there.
Of course.
Right. And Eyes Wide Shut, which is the best Christmas movie.
That's a weird movie.
What movie?
Yeah. Eyes Wide
Eyes
Shut.
Wide Shut.
Haven't seen it.
Tom
You
Cruise.
don't need to see that.
Yeah.
Tom Cruise, Nicole Kidman, and an orgy.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's just like it's a very like swingers sex kind of thing.
A lot
Isn't
of
there like a
dongs.
murder mystery too? Isn't there?
Yeah, yeah. A lot of dongs in that movie.
I mean, we had some of those on the podcast last week. Where we talked about it a fair amount. So that's a sort of one of our reoccurring segments, I guess. It's just peckers.
All right, guys, that brings us about just past the hour mark. We wanna bring it on home, bring it on around down.
No, Kevin has to flip the script on us though. This is a new segment that I want to try to keep
yes,
running.
please.
It kind of
Okay.
crashed and burned last week because I just didn't prepare scans for it. I didn't know I was going to ask. But Kevin, you can ask. This is your platform. Ask Joey and I a question. It can be an individual question for each of us, or a
Yeah.
one-off, and we both answer whatever you got.
I do have individual questions for both of you. Keith, I'll start with you because I think this one could potentially be a quicker answer. Why orange?
So let's see. When I was the high school that my brothers went to that I would have gone to, like there was black and orange. They were the South Harrison Hawks, black and orange. I went to my brother played football there. I was a diehard fan. Like I thought I was going to grow. It was a very small school. There was only one. I think there was two elementary schools that fed into one middle school that fed into one high school or something like that. So there was only like my graduating class would have been like 50 or 75. So it was just a very small town. Like the high school football team was the thing. So orange always resonated from a young age for that. I ended up moving and not going to school there anyway, but that's nonetheless like orange has always just stuck with me. And then also I'm a diehard Cleveland Browns fan. So orange is in that. But I think before the Cleveland Browns, I think it was always just orange and black from my childhood, just my brother's high school sports growing up as a kid. That sadly I only no because I played a couple years of Pop Warner, so I did wear the uniform a few times. But for the most part, like all my athletic days and all my school spirit stuff was in different colors. But as a kid, like you never outgrow shit that you're like is instilled to you when you're like between 5 and 9. I don't feel. So that is why the orange has just been my obsession.
So is Halloween just like the best time for you? Because
It's
everything's
really
black
like
and orange?
no, like not because the Halloween orange is more of like the burnt, like it's not this. I mean, I guess some of it is the same sometimes. I mean, I do enjoy Halloween, but it's not necessarily because of orange or anything like that. But just orange in general. I always anytime I see orange in someone's like gym or just in their background, or like I see an orange car and I'm like, I just want to give it a thumbs up. I don't know why. It's I think part of it is just like it's. I feel like maybe social media and Instagram and stuff has just like made it's people think of me as that, so I have to kind of embrace the persona a little more. So maybe it's almost embellished how much I do like it, just because I have to kind of play up to the bit. But I really do fucking like orange.
Yeah, no, it's interesting too because so I like orange. I've got orange in my gym too. Not nearly as much as you have, but like I've got on my squat rack here. I've got on my barbell gun rack and a few little banners and logos here and there. And for me, it's almost the same thing. Where I went to college, Ohio Northern University, black and orange. Growing up, loved the Browns, and also the first powerlifting gym I went to, Old School Iron in Cleveland. All their racks were orange, so like I wanted to bring that same kind of thing into my gym too. So that was cool that we both are on the orange team here.
Nice.
All right, and Joey, it was appropriate then that you asked me FMK for some of my three fandoms. So I got one for you.
Mm-hmm.
So FMK, kilts, cigars, and tattoos.
So F cigars, because those I could just have all the time. It's a fun thing. I don't have an addictive personality except for one thing. But with cigars, I can have 3 today and then not touch them for 2 or 3 weeks or a month. But I enjoy cigars. So I will, at any time, as long as they're not Cuban, light up, sit outside, stare at the sky, smoke. Probably marry kilts because I own 3 and they are the best thing. They're just comfortable. I used to wear them as a proper Scot till I had kids, and you can't be chasing kids around a playground with nothing under your kilt. So we started wearing something under them that day. But I guess that means I would kill tattoos because honestly, I don't really need those. They feel like wet fire. They're not pleasant to get. And I don't take them so serious. So like people that get tattoos and they're like, it needs to mean something. I'm just like, nah, you're going to die and it's not going to mean anything. It doesn't matter. Just have fun while you're here. That's why I have a Massonomics tattoo. I have a Macho Man tattoo where Macho Man is a little milk creamer cup and they tilted the lid up to be the cowboy hat and it says cream of the crop. Like none of my tattoos, except for maybe the one on my chest and hand, actually have any meaning beyond this will be funny and it'll make me laugh. And it's on my body for the rest of my life. So kill tattoos.
You were talking earlier. I'm sorry.
I was just going to say, those are some good answers there.
Oh, good. Thank you. Yeah, it's not easy to surprise me, but I mean, I enjoy all 3 of those. I think I'm tattooed out. I think my wife wants to get a tattoo. I'm taking her to some event. Her Mother's Day present was tickets to some event where they're going to go and do shit that wives like chakra readings and crystals and whatever, right? But I told her I would take her and her parents are going to take the kids so her and I can go have some time there. And I think they're doing tattoos, so she wants to get matching tattoos. So that might be one I have to endure. I don't really want another tattoo, but it is what it is. And cigars, I really wanted one tonight, but like, ugh, I have that meat in a day.
Oh, you'd probably really love to like smoke and podcast. I'm assuming you don't smoke in the house; you only smoke outside.
Yep. Don't smoke
So
in the
you'd have to
house.
get it a big ass extension cord, and I don't even know how it would be podcasting outside to be able to actually smoke and podcast, or how would that sound like when you puff, like would that, I don't know, you have to like mute yourself, or is it so like the sound itself is muted that you wouldn't really,
You
I don't.
wouldn't, yeah. I don't, unless it's in your mouth, you probably aren't going to hear the burning sound. You hear
Gotcha.
me breathing a lot. Now, when we get the shed installed, I might do some of my podcasting out there in the summer, but so that might give me an opportunity to do this, but not no when the kids are around. If I'm smoking, the kids have to be away from me. It's illegal in Ontario to smoke in the car with your kids,
Good.
and we don't smoke in the house.
So speaking of big showy shed, it's going to be sponsored by Massonomics. You know, they're the one footing the bill for it up there. I'm not sure how the money exchange works from American dollars to Canadian dollars, but they're gonna mail him another big check so he can get that shed going. So we just wanted to thank our sponsors again, Big Massonomics over there. They've Nate wanted us to mention one of their big things that they've been pushing lately is their blogs. The two hosts, they really like sitting down at the computer and typing out blogs, like long format text. It's something they're just really big fans of. I came across one that looked pretty fresh. It looked like it was from 2016, and it was actually pretty cool. It was the what if these NFL players power lifted, and they had a whole bunch of current NFL players from 2016, that is, and the way basically what their estimated one rep maxes would be and what their totals. It was actually kind of cool. So if you're not a fan already, if it's not someone you follow already, which you should, I can't imagine. You really think there's people listening to our podcast that don't follow them already, outside of our wives? Because I know my wife. I think my wife might actually follow Massonomics now, though. So I don't know, but go follow Massonomics. They are great.
Don't forget to follow us at unpaid.and.underrated. It is not a serious site at all. We will be posting jokes, memes. Try not to be too critical or insulting of anybody. So if there is something you want to send me that you think would be a fun post for the crew, send it my way to that. It is me running it. That's an admin reveal. Kevin, is there anything you want to let them know before we jump off? Where to find you, what they can do, how to donate to your Take a Lap fund, anything you want to give them?
Yeah, so the Take a Lap Foundation. I think the best way to find them and find anything else is just to search Take a Lap or Take a Lap Foundation on Instagram. They have a whole page on there that leads to everything else. You can find me at Kevin_RSG_18. RSG stands for Ray Hill Strong Gym. It's the very creative name I decided to name my basement gym. And one more thing I just want to throw out, to thank our sponsor again, is that after meeting everybody at the Arnold, my wife was very appreciative and complimentary of the Massonomics crew. She thought it was like a really cool group of guys that just like, it's like, so you've never actually met these guys in person before? Or like, I guess I met Tanner and Tommy the year before that, but it's like, no one else, like, no, we're just buddies now. Just made them in the person for the first time here. And she kind of compared that to a lot of the other people, at the Arnold that had like the, go to war with the bar t-shirts on, or the broccoli haired boys, and the shark tooth boy.
Shark boy.
And she's like, wow, you guys are just normal and you like lifting. This is a really cool group of guys, and I'm glad you found this. So just major props to Massonomics and the crew.
I
That's
agree.
awesome to hear. I love hearing that.
My wife said the same thing. I'm happy you found your people. And I got to hang out with you, like I said, all day. We even went to Brothers afterwards, and I couldn't last. The guys were, I think it was 9:30, and I'd been up since 6:30. And my wife was like, the kids won't sleep. I need help. And I was like, I have to bail. So I actually didn't get to hang out with everybody afterwards, but I did get to hang out with you and Nate. And, I agree. It's, that's why we're here. That's why we're doing this, is because, the podcast wants to interview the famous people, but like, we all like each other enough that we could just talk. And, except for my terrible overrated, underrated, I think, we're going to get, this is going to be really fun for quite some time.
Absolutely, absolutely. So you can find me. This is Big Keith, Keith Honeycutt 73 on Instagram. If you want to see my orange gym, it's at the No One Seller. And we will see you next Tuesday, guys.
I'm Big Joey, and you can
Sorry.
find me at Joey underscore Malesko, MLECZKO. I got our sign off there a bit quick. Guys, we didn't get to Big Matt again. Big Matt mostly squat videos. Wanted to get to you this week, but me and Kevin just had a little too much fun. Definitely try and get to you next week again. And if you want to give us that sign off again, we can head off.
See you next Tuesday, boys. Boys.
Boys.